Hello, good people. How are you? I hope that you are doing well. If this is your first time seeing me, my name is Kamara Daughtry. I'm a social media influencer and also a content creator, in addition to some other hats that I have. But today, I am just super excited. I have a very, very well known journalist, content creator, Nefertiti, and her husband, and they are going to be talking to us about love. So I'm very excited. Her husband is also going to come in like a little bit after. So just stay tuned with your questions. And for our singles out there and also for our married couples, this is for you. So I am going to share. Give me 1 second. Because we have a lot of them. Okay, we got a lot of them.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hi! Okay, let me back it up. You know why? Because, we had two people on here.
We're trying to back up the camera.
Okay. Okay, let me see this. Let me see. Okay, there we go. I think I can see both of y'all perfectly.
Good.
How are y'all doing? It's okay. But your hair is
Thank you.
And hello, Dr. How are you? It is a pleasure meeting you. I don't know, but we've been connected because of Nefertiti's page for some time now. So I feel like in my social media mind that I have known y'all.
That's cool with me. That's all right with me.
Okay, well, for a lot of people who don't know you, I know that Nefertiti, a lot of people know her from journalism, content creation, and then looking on your page, real estate entrepreneur. So you tell us, for new people who are just now seeing a little bit about yourself.
I am Jadrien Brown, the other half, and from a small town in North Carolina called Lenore. Grew up there, went to NC State, and studied engineering, and came down here to Atlanta after that to start my career in IT software. And so over the years, I've grown to put my hands into a few different businesses, entrepreneurial opportunities, and real estate company. My best friend and I started a real estate company, Brown Keys Realty. So shouts out to those guys. And yeah, from that, it's just an investment opportunities, looking for any way to kind of create extra income and opportunities for future generations.
Now, Nefertiti, first of all, that was amazing. So if I had the clap feature on here, like you do on Bravo, I would do the clap, okay? Because it takes a lot of guts, vision, and drive to say, this is what I want to do, and then partner with somebody. So Nefertiti, I want to, of course, a lot of people know you from, I see people out here talking about, she was in Miami, she was in Houston. I'm looking at the comments. Well, tell people if they're brand new to your page.
Interestingly enough, people don't really know that I actually studied law, quit law school to become a journalist. I've worked in major markets across the U.S., Miami, Philadelphia, Houston, and Atlanta. I'm an independent journalist now, and I do some consulting, and I actually just got certified to be a life coach right before we got married in August. I just woke up one day and I told my husband, who was my fiance at the time, like, hey, I think I'm just going to do this. And he was like, great, because I think like this is where you need to be headed. So I haven't been in local news for about 3.5 years now. It's not to say that I would never go back. I've learned from my husband to never say never. I'm just looking at what my life looks like now, especially as a newlywed and as a wife, and just kind of deciding what's next for me. The one thing with me is that I can never sit down. I'm always looking for the next opportunity. And so it's always go, 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 go.
True.
Look at your husband over there. He like you, right? He knows. No, I'm gonna tell you, both of y'all are go-getters. Not just from your social media pages, but from what you're telling me, like y'all are go-getters. Y'all like, oh, I see this, I want it, I'm gonna get it. So let's break it down. because there are a lot of relationship shows, there are a lot of people giving relationship advice. But for you two, I mean, you all were well established in your careers. So you all went from singlehood, to married life. But how did y'all meet? How are you all able to just partner together so well? Tell us a little bit about that.
I'll let you take it.
Okay.
I'll let you start. Yeah.
Okay, so long story short, because it is a long one, we met in the summer of 2019. We were both out with our respective friends. For us girls, we were out celebrating one of my girlfriend's birthdays. They kind of wanted to continue the night, so we decided to go to a rooftop lounge in the city, and because they wanted to get a drink after her birthday party. And I just kind of tagged along because I didn't want to be the party pooper, because if anyone knows me, they actually know I don't drink. So my being there was just for the music and for the fun with my girlfriends. And so Jadrien was out with his guy friends as well. I actually don't remember any of his guy friends. I remember standing in the VIP section dancing with one of my girlfriends, Amber, and I saw Jadrien kind of walk in. And so I only saw him from the side. And I remember turning to Amber saying, like, who's this guy? And Amber was very surprised that I even said that, because I wasn't one to ever kind of vocalize if I was kind of feeling on someone. So that was that. I spotted him. I didn't say anything. We didn't make eye contact. And then 45 minutes later, when I already think that he's gone, I'm now closest to the door talking to another one of my girlfriends, and he happens to walk by, and he like kind of touches my forearm as he continues to keep walking. And, I'm from the New York area, so we do things a little bit differently up north. You can't just randomly touch a woman on her arm.
I know, he's looking like, oh my
So I said a couple of things that I can't say now. I was just in my, how dare you touch me and keep walking. And I said my little bit, and I was very, very angry. And I didn't realize that it was the same guy that I had seen 45 minutes earlier. Like, I was so livid that it just didn't dawn on me. And he actually just kept walking. And I'm thinking, like, what is this? Like, is this the new way to try to pick up a girl? And he turned around, and as he was walking back, that's when it dawned on me, like, oh my God, this is the guy. And so then he came up. He was like profusely apologetic. My girlfriends kind of all jumped on him, like, hey, she's not necessarily the girl you want to kind of like touch and go. And I mean, long story short, after that, we exchanged numbers and we became very close friends. And he fell in love with me, and then I fell in love with him, and then now we're married.
Okay, now wait. There is two sides to the story. Then there's a third side.
Yeah.
It's called the viewer's perspective. I'm just playing. But I will say this, from him touching you, and wait a minute, you're from New York.
North Carolina.
Where are you from? Are you from Atlanta? Okay, so you're from the NC, so you touching somebody was a gesture.
So to give a little background, I grew up with just my mother, single parent. So I have a lot of respect for women. And this was definitely a different time in my life. I had a lot of growing up to do at that time. But my intentions when I touched her was never to be disrespectful. It was actually very out of character for me.
Right.
I kind of had a chip on my shoulder at this time in my life. So even I was asking myself why I touched her arm afterwards. Like, bro, that wasn't cool. Like, where you the juice, right? But that day, I did not have juice at all. And I honestly couldn't understand or remember why I touched her, even probably until recently, within like the last year, do I understand why I touched her. But at that time, I touched her. Okay. I didn't say a word. I kept walking, and literally within like maybe 5 more seconds, I would have been around the corner at the elevator, and I would have been gone. I would have never seen this lady again. I didn't really see her face. She was turned sideways. So she always tells me I could have had a winky eye or something like that. You don't know who you was touching. But anyway, I touched her arm very gracefully, very Like it wasn't grappling or anything like that.
Oh, I hear you. You're from the country.
Yeah,
I
that's
get
just
it. Me
the
too.
South, right?
I'm
Respect.
with
Respect
you.
is very big for me.
And
Respect is very,
so
very big.
I
So
feel you.
as soon as I got a few steps and I realized that I had done something to disrespect somebody and I could hear that she felt disrespect and she was upset, I really was just coming back to apologize. So I came back to the side I actually touched, and I stood there and I listened, and she told me and explained how she felt. You know, guys have been touching us and groping and grabbing my friends and things of that nature all night. And I listened because I really wanted to hear what she had to say. And after she finished, after she stopped talking for a second, I said, okay, are you finished? And then that kind of lightened the mood a little bit. And I just apologized. And when she recounts the exact way I apologized, she says that I clasped my hands together like this, which she felt was a genuine posture. So I apologized, and then we went on to have conversation and ended up eventually exchanging numbers, and we have been best friends since then.
Oh my. Okay, so I'm gonna put on my life. Okay, but first of all, anytime that we talk about relationships in general, whether it's always about like the psychology. People really take in information differently. So you touching her, that was a way of saying, "Hey, how are you?" Because if you were downtown Atlanta, and that would have happened. Totally different vibe, right? Totally different people, culture. In New York, I lived in Manhattan. You don't touch anybody. And it's like, if you touch somebody, folks is like, does he know you? If he don't know you, everybody over here, your section got
no,
problems.
it was. I mean, I think because we come from two completely different backgrounds, you know, that exchange could have gone really, really bad. But it was just interesting because, you know, when we look back at it, you got to remember that I remember seeing him walk in 45 minutes earlier and thought to myself, like, oh, who's this? But like, don't act on it. I'm very, I still believe that it's the man's responsibility to come up to a woman, like that kind of thing. Call me old fashioned. It is what it is. Hopefully I won't get beat up by the internet trolls for that. But yeah, so for me, you know, I saw him and then I just thought, oh, he's gone. I never thought that the guy who then 45 minutes later would touch my arm would be the same person who caught my eye earlier in that evening.
And to add to that, though, honestly, I'd never touched someone and not said something or followed through with it. Like that's never happened to me ever. So, this was a different day.
Oh, I hear you. I know. Now let me ask you: is it true? Because when you saw Nefertiti, did you say that's my wife like automatically? Do men really think that?
I didn't really, honestly, because she was turned sideways. It was really a quick glance and I touched her. I don't think I touched her because I seen something I liked. I think the touch was something that was out of my control.
Okay. So basically, he was saying that the energy was so strong.
Yeah.
No, he's
basically saying God did that.
I'm saying that it was out of my control, that God has plans for me. That is exactly what I'm saying.
Listen, there have been plenty of stories of men been like, listen, this is what I did. I stood outside and I just waited for him. And I never waited for X, Y, and Z a day in my life, but I just stood 45 minutes. We know what that is, right? Let me ask you this. So you all exchange numbers. Now, let's go to the first date, because a lot of your followers, they are hearing this, and I'm seeing in the comments, Attorney Jazz, they're saying great story, love story. I mean, y'all got to come on here a little bit more often. They are loving y'all. So what was the first date
So,
like?
hold on, really quickly, just gently before we reach the first date, because it made the first date different.
Okay.
When we talked on the phone, that was we texted that weekend, and that Monday we talked on the phone. We talked on the phone for 8 hours that night. From like around 8 p.m. after I got out of work and hit the gym, from like 8 p.m. to like 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
And that was very, very uncommon for me. I'm telling you, at this time of my life, I was very much a single person and enjoying my single life. So she had captivated me without even me knowing it that first day. And then the next day we talked for another 4 hours. So there was something clearly, I wasn't even looking for anything at this time. Like I wasn't looking for a significant other. I wasn't looking for a girlfriend, anything. And for her to draw me in that way, and I really couldn't even understand why I wanted to talk on the phone so much, that kind of threw a shock to me. So fast forward to the first date. I'll let you take it.
We had 2 first dates, and they're not like 1 and 2. They're like 1 and 1. It's very interesting. So because we were friends first,
Okay.
I had him meet like 10 of my friends, my personal trainer, his girlfriend. Like, so we had gone,
Right.
I had asked him if he would come out to like Top Golf. Because he had said, oh, we should go out. But I kind of wanted control. I'm not going to lie. I wanted control of the situation because I'm a control freak.
Plus you're a woman.
Yeah, and I'm a type A personality because, you know, I'm a crime journalist. I just wasn't going to randomly go out with a guy that I barely knew. It just wasn't my MO. So he had kind of inquired about a first date, but I'm like, oh, no, let's just meet up with a group of my friends. But then I basically gave my friends the rundown and told my male friends, hey, like, I'm throwing him to you guys like I'm throwing him to the wolves. Like, you figure out, is this dude legit? Because I don't even want to waste my time. So he actually, our first date was with a group of like a dozen of my friends. And he had brought his best friend as well. And we just had a fun time. It just kind of felt like we were all friends. Like it wasn't very awkward. It was very organic. Everybody got along. To the point where all of the guys that were there at the end were like, I mean, there's not much that we can say, or, I mean, we like the guy. So that was part 1 of date 1. And then I think a couple of weeks went by, and then he had officially asked me, because we really did kind of talk like every single night for hours on end, because neither one of us was looking for a relationship at the time. So that just wasn't where we were. And then he officially had asked me out, and then we had our first date. We both love sushi. So we went on a sushi date. It was really great. Dinner was amazing. He took me to Jenny's for the first time. And it was so funny because his best friend, who lived right around the corner, was like, hey, what are you guys doing? And Jadrien's like, oh, we're headed there. And so his best friend shows up on our official first date. And I'm like, I don't know what I think about it.
Was that planned or
I have heard about this. I have heard about this.
was that planned?
Ever since.
We even put that on our wedding website. Now I can laugh about it. Back then, I was like, I remember after the date ended, I texted my girlfriends like, did he invite his best friend to our first date? Like, what was that for? And then they were all like, they were chin checking me because they were like, you also invited him to meet 10 of your friends at the same time. So like, you don't have any room to talk.
Oh, no.
You want to say something? Okay, so first of all, I think that accountability is number 1, because oftentimes, especially, I don't know, ask me, in this generation, it's like, okay, yes, we keep things secret, but also you can keep things private, but let the people who love you and truly care about you know what's going on, because sometimes they can see things that you can't see. So for you to say, hey, listen, this is somebody who's showing interest, I'm showing interest in them, y'all check them out. And he did. I don't know if it was vice versa, you know, with a friend coming, but he
like brothers. That's my business partner, TJ. We like brothers, and he's like, oh, you around the corner? Okay, I'm gonna come through. And it just happened real quick, and I was like, okay, all right.
But then to his defense, once TJ got there, I wasn't upset because he's such a great guy. So we just were all there having dessert. Like, it wasn't really that big of a thing. I just like to bust his chops because it's very easy for me to do so.
And then you all had, you know, basically accountability. You said, listen, this is who I'm with currently right now. Let me know. And then you all got like A-B report. So you're like, okay, this checks off my list. So now you have to walk us through.
Mhm.
You went on the first date. You all met, you're talking. There's an emotional connection there and not just physical. So how do you all now get to say, all right, let's get
I
married?
mean, it wasn't easy.
Oh no.
You know, like one of the things that we talk about is now that we're married, while things are great, you know, nothing is perfect and no relationship is perfect. And so we are very humbled by the fact that you've brought us on, or that people have kind of hashtagged us Black Love, or, you know, couples goals. We wouldn't say that that's how we would define ourselves, because I feel like as a couple, it's kind of this ever evolving thing where we're growing and we're learning. So no, like, look, like, because neither one of us wanted to be in a relationship in the beginning, I had been in a long-term relationship, and he was, you know, single and kind of doing his thing, and we never really expected to meet and for this to happen. It was kind of like a too good to be true moment for us in the beginning, where we were like, where is this coming from? Like,
Very often did I say to myself and actually out loud to her eventually, this feels like a movie. And within that, I was very much like fighting it. I definitely had baggage and trauma that I brought into her world, which was all things that I hadn't processed or been mature enough to deal with before I met her. And she had such a purity about her that it put a mirror in front of me, and it made me look at myself. So when she says like it's not all glitz and glamour, and when you listen to conversations with older couples who have been through things, it takes work. It takes a lot of hard work to get to a place of enjoyment and happiness. You just have to be willing.
yeah. And so there was a lot of like self-sabotage, I think, from both our ends in the beginning, because we were kind of fighting this, like, well, we weren't really looking for anybody, but it's too good to be true. But is it, you know, because of his past? I'm like, can I really trust a guy like this? Because, you know, the people that I had dated in the past were very like by the book kind of guys, in the sense that like I had had friendships with them prior to ever dating them. So I knew what they were about. With Jadrien, he was just, you know, it's like a bag of toys. You pulling stuff out and you never know what you're gonna get. And so I had to kind of like relearn myself, relearn what it meant to be in a relationship. I had done a lot of healing from my previous relationship. So I was at a point in my life where I knew what I really wanted. And so it came down to, could he be that person without me necessarily asking him, if that makes any sense. Like, this is what I was thinking to myself.
No, this is a good conversation, because also not only in church, but also with romantic relationships, period. I think that our generation, we focus on, because we see this on social media, we see the pictures and the glitz and the glam on social media, right? So when a lot of people call you or hashtag couple goals, they're like, whoa, I mean, your wedding photos look like something out of a movie, out of a magazine. So we're like, whoa, gotta hit them up. What's going on? And then also, you all both talked about the work that you did prior, also during. And so let me ask you this. Did y'all do premarital counseling? And do y'all recommend that for
Absolutely
others?
recommend it. I recommend counseling and therapy prior to getting to before you even are ready to even call someone a spouse. I think you need to face and address and know who you are, and be able to address those things so that those things aren't carried over into someone else's life to cause any further damage. So absolutely, premarital counseling, I think it should be a requirement for marriage.
And I had, you know, full transparency, I had already been in therapy. I've talked about this openly in interviews before. You know, I was emotionally, physically, and sexually assaulted as a child. So I had been doing a lot of work on myself for a very long time prior to meeting Jadrien. And then, if you don't mind, and then he started therapy at the start of our relationship when he realized that there were some things that he needed to fix. And
just 1 second, I don't want to graze over me starting therapy because the idea of it was introduced by my wife. So very early on, she looked at me and noticed, because I had a really close, or I still have, a really close connection with my late grandfather. He played very much the role of a father in my life. And so it was very difficult with me. I didn't understand how to process that when he left back in 2012. And so I had carried that somehow, trying to be his replacement for our family, not being capable of it, and then also that prevented me from grieving. And so she was able to see that very early on in our friendship, which quickly developed into a relationship. And so she would tell me, and for me, honestly, it was kind of like scary for her to be able to see something so intimate, something so sacred for me, because I hadn't really let anybody into that world. Like, I've never really even mentioned it to my family. So she introduced me to the idea of therapy. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that was important for me to say.
But to pick up from that, I think that what's really important is, I think we live in a society where we all want to be healed. And by the time we meet the person that we believe is the one, we want them to be healed. I don't, as a life coach now, think that that's really feasible. I think, healing is not linear. There are a lot of ebbs and flows in life, a lot of things that could potentially trigger you throughout your life. And so when I think of healing, and I thought of, why I believed Jadrien needed therapy at the time, I knew that it wasn't my job to heal him, but I said to him, I will hold your hand while you heal.
Oh, wait. We got to pause, because that's good. You also, because you both identify yourself as, hey, okay, we want to work this out. We like each other. We see the potential. We could do some really good things together. And then you said, we're going to hold both of each other accountable. That is admirable. You said, I'm going to hold your hand through it. I'm just not going to let you, fail us. Oh, you need to do this or do this. You said, no, let's go get the proper help.
Because I
knew
that, and that's the thing with partnership. And that's what I would say to the audience. I couldn't heal my husband. He can't heal me. And people need to understand that the healing process is one that takes time. When you meet your person, they may very well not be healed, but that doesn't mean that they can't be healing in the relationship while you guys are falling in love or starting to court one another. I think there's something to be said about a person who is willing to address the fact that they need to heal, who's willing to say, I need therapy and that I need to fix myself. I think the idea that we're going to find this perfect person or this perfect partner is just not realistic, because no one is perfect. I would love to believe that he is or I am, but we're not. And in order to meet each other and be on the same page, it takes a lot of work, a lot of love, a lot of commitment, communication. And so I think that it's okay to be healing within a relationship.
That's good. Listen, you got all the claps. You get
For
the
some
love,
reason, we can't
why?
really see the comments.
Both of y'all are hitting some nerves. Everybody's sitting back
I
like,
can't really answer them because for some reason they're frozen. Yeah.
Let me see this. Attorney Jazz, and then Robert highlighted partnership. So let me ask you all this, because I know we got a couple more minutes left. But so there's an ongoing conversation on social media. Do you marry somebody based on potential or what they're doing currently? And let me give you an example. For example, both of you all are in your 20s. This goal. And that is potential. You have not yet started, but do you marry somebody based on, I guess, what they say they're going to do or what they're currently doing?
Do you want to go first, or?
I'll let you take it first.
I don't think that you can marry potential. And the only reason why I personally think that is because as time goes by, days, weeks, years, people change, right? And so when they come into the relationship, And I heard a pastor recently, I don't know if it was Jerry Flowers out of Houston, who said, when you say I do to somebody, you're saying I do to that person, the person that you fell in love with throughout the relationship in that moment. That's the wedding. But when it comes to marriage, you're really saying I do to everything that comes after. That's why those vows say in sickness and in health, in richer or poor, till death do you part. The idea that you're marrying on potential, to me, doesn't necessarily make sense, because there are a number of variables of things that can happen within relationships once you marry that can ultimately change. We as people change, and we should. I don't want to be the same person that I am now 10 years from now.
Right.
I want to be better. I want to be a better wife. I want to be a future, a great mom. Like there are things in life that I aspire to be that are not what I am now. But the idea that I would marry potential, I mean, I didn't know until after we were engaged that he even wanted to start a real estate firm. I just supported it because it was something that he wanted to do. So that's what I'm saying. People have desires and wants, and things that make them happy that ultimately can change. So I think when you're getting with somebody, you're getting with them based on what you know at that time, but also knowing that it's about growing together, that the idea of love is just not enough. There's just so many components that come to having a successful relationship.
Ooh. Y'all, listen, do y'all not see these in the comments? Look, they're going to ask y'all to start a relationship podcast, and it's going to be fire, okay? I'm just letting you know. Okay.
What I often say to my wife is, and I picked this particular phrase up from Inky Johnson. He's a motivational speaker, incredible character guy. He has a podcast. He said, expectations set yourself up for pain and failure, right? And so if we could just replace expectations with appreciation, it would do us so much better in life. For example, right, we're talking about marrying potential. That's this expectation that we're saying that we're putting on our significant other, our spouse, right? I'm expecting my wife to be this, so I am marrying her with this expectation, right? So what does that say about who she is right now?
Yeah.
How I feel like it puts that person in a position to be identified as lacking or not being enough. And so I think when you make your decision to marry someone, you are marrying them for what you see in front of you. And you are accepting the challenge to grow with them and accept them through every phase of their life going forward. And for us as believers, trusting that God is only going to put you in place with the person that you're supposed to be with if you're doing it the right way for the right reasons. So I would most certainly say that tomorrow's not even promised, right? So these expectations aren't even real, right? And I don't think it's fair to marry someone for someone that they are not in that moment.
Okay. No, I want to drop down here to the questions.
Yeah, let's do some questions.
Yeah, let me see this. Because both of y'all, people always talk about, oh no, just do this, do this, do that. And giving some actual clarity. Listen, go ahead, see them for who they are, but people also change. So we got to keep that in the back of our minds. So what is Mike Carrington? He says, seeing as both people here are ambitious, who is a leader? Or I think he's trying to ask, is there a leader in a relationship? Should there be a leader in a relationship?
You want to say this one?
That's a good question. I don't mind taking that.
Yeah, go ahead.
So for us, right, I think we both play a very significant role in what we've created and been gifted from God, right? So as the man of our family and our house, I take responsibility as a leader of our home. That doesn't necessarily mean that I don't need significant input in leadership from my wife as well. So for us, being a God-fearing couple, and experiencing a kingdom marriage,
Right.
I take the lead on our home. I take the lead of our family. I take the lead over my wife, and she helps me lead.
Mm-hmm.
So we co-lead, but I take the lead of our home.
And even above him, just because of our just belief system that,
Mm-hmm.
you know, God comes first, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so if you're really talking about the leader of our household,
Right.
then it's God.
Mm-hmm. And I know, you know, in church because our church, they'll put us, we have like singles night, right? So everybody, you'll hear from the married couples in our church. But even in addition to that, hearing trusted pastors who I've been listening to online, you know, if we're talking about biblical principles,
Biblical principles.
you know, first is God, but looking at what are those biblical principles that we should be following. Then if he puts the man in charge of the house, then he needs to follow what the Lord says. He must also hear from Christ as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's also the women and then the children. But I think that a lot of people, because when they hear the word submit or when they hear these other words, people get real like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I'm INDEMPNT, right?
I kind of thought that that's what the question was asking,
Mm-hmm.
was like, okay, she's so headstrong, like what role does she take? I think that there's a difference between submissive in the way that maybe a lot of people see it versus biblical submission.
Mm-hmm.
Me being submissive to my husband doesn't mean that he is telling me what to do, or I'm his doormat, or I'm just like chasing after him like a 1950s wife.
Right.
That is not what biblical submission is. You know, he is the head of the household. I have to trust that he can lead us. And I don't think that that's any different than any relationship that you have that is God-fearing and God-centered, in the sense that I understand that he's the leader. And like he said, we co-lead. There are times where he'll make a decision and I got to pray on it and ask God, like, okay, is my husband absolutely nuts, or is like, this is what you really want for us? Mm-hmm. And if I don't know how I feel about it, I express it. We talk it out and we make decisions mutually.
My wife is gifted. She has the spirit of discernment.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be unwise of me not to hear her when she shares something with me that sits on her spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Also, if we're talking biblical, if we go back to the garden, right? God made Adam and he made Eve of his rib. But when there was damage done in the garden, he called to Adam, right? So Adam was held accountable for what took place, right? So in a relationship or when a marriage, right, the man is held accountable for what happens in the home. So we are accountable. I am accountable directly to God first. And then she is accountable to hearing from me and trusting that God will lead me as I lead her.
Are we looking at our next youth pastors, young adult pastors?
I keep telling him, you know.
Because I'm like, wait a minute.
He can get a third job if he wants.
This is student.
I'm like, wait a minute. Because and hello, the cool girl Carmen. But you all are talking about, hey, listen, we are a marriage who is doing it God's way. We believe in Jesus Christ. We're going off of the Bible. We're doing this biblically. And these are basically the benefits on how you do it and if you hear from the Lord. And there's a lot of benefits, and we call them blessings, right? But there are a lot of blessings in being obedient. So a lot of people, again, they will continue to be attracted to both of you guys because you're doing it God's way.
I mean, that's what we hope. I mean, we obviously, that is something that's beautifully received. So thank you for that. Hope to, you know, share our story as a testimony. We hope to be an example. I mean, even our wedding, one of the things that we had set out to do, and we had said this when we were creating the theme of our wedding, we were like, look, at the end of the day, we want our friends and family to understand that he brought us together, what their role is as our community, right? Our community of people, of loved ones. And we wanted them to feel the love that we had really achieved it to that point. Because like we said earlier, it wasn't easy. There were self-sabotage. There were issues in the beginning of the relationship. People, you know, at times he didn't know where he stood with me. I didn't know where I stood with him. So it took a lot of work. Like, we don't want to just sit there and be like, again, like, everything is perfect. We're just hoping that we can just be an example to other couples, and also, even help singles. Like, one of the things that we have realized in being married is there was a lot of work that we needed to do on ourselves individually before being ready to be married. Yes. And I think it's easy to just want to find your person, right? Like, particularly with women, and I'm just using my like core girlfriends as a focus group. We grow up and it's like, oh, we want to be, married by like, 25 to 30, have all of our kids before 35. Like, there's this kind of like timeline that we have put on us. And I have always said to all of my girlfriends, my sister, I'm just like, unless you know that this is your person, do not rush the process. Do not rush the process. Because one of the things that I've always said, and Jadrien has heard me say, is I had a list of requirements of what I wanted my future husband to be prior to meeting Jadrien. And I had said, and I tell my girlfriends the same thing, I'm like, don't stray away from your list. If these are the things that you need in a partner, make sure that the person has those things, right? But one of the things I will add to that is, while I think it's important to have a list of the things you want in a partner, make sure that you are that list.
Yep, wait a minute, let me write that down.
Make sure that you are that list. It is not enough to say that you want this person to have, to be this great communicator and to understand you and to love you and to be healed, but you're not willing to do the work on yourself.
Right.
Okay. Woo. Now, I'm going to ask y'all one more time. Y'all going from biblical principles. You all, before we get out of here, I know y'all have some stuff in the works, and I want y'all to announce that. But y'all sure y'all don't want to do one Bible study before?
I mean, look, if they're, like I said, we can't see the comments because on our end they're frozen. If there's a group of people that are willing, that want to sit here and have like, a conversation of a dozen people over Zoom, I don't see why we can't. I mean, that's what fellowship is.
This is not a Nefertiti and Jadrien know everything, have all the answers. This is just a conversation. And we're sharing things we studied, things we've went through, things we've experienced ourselves. But we spend a lot of time watching conversations from older couples who have been together for 10, 15, 20 years. Like, we listen to the dialogue that they share, their ups, their downs, their weak points, their strong points. In fact, we've been in a marriage life group with our church members since we got actually the 3 days after we got married, it started. So we've been in a group since then. And I can't tell you how many wonders it's worked to have such a wise counsel on your corner, because we get weak as humans. We get weak, and we're susceptible to arguing and to the silly nonsense things. But it's good to have someone there to say, hey, this is on you. You slip in here. Like, it's good for that accountability team. So.
Man, y'all dropping some kids. I'm going back and watching, okay? Robert said you all are an amazing example for young and seasoned couples. I see it's this woman, her name is Kay Witherspoon. I know we have about 15 more minutes left, but do you all want to take a live video comment from a viewer?
Don't put us on a timeline. If people want to ask questions, we're open to answering all the questions.
Cool.
Okay, we're ready for that podcast, so I'm not playing. Okay, I'm putting you on. Hi, you're on.
Hello.
Hey,
hello there.
Family right there.
Oh, yes.
Hello, Miss Witherspoon.
How you doing?
We're good. Good to see you.
Well, good to see you all. I was just on here listening and enjoying this. This is awesome.
Thank you so
and I
much.
just,
Thank you.
the biblical, the whole nine that y'all have went through and done with this is awesome.
Thank you.
I mean, it's a good book and very, very just that soulful. You know, that soulful love. That is and intentional.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know where I come from, so you know
Yes.
you understand this journey.
Yes, yes. And I'm glad I got on. This is awesome. Y'all should keep it up.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Thank you, Kim.
Good
We love
advice.
you.
Good advice.
Tell my Uncle Wally I love him too.
I will. I sure will.
No, thank
I
you for
sure
coming
will.
on. Now, let me ask you this. Since you are on, do you have a question?
Yeah.
Do you think that maybe do you have a question that the viewers probably would ask if they were to come on as well?
Let me see.
You can dig, Kim. You know me, so you can dig if you want to.
uh, do you believe in the let's see, how am I want to say it? When you say your person, I believe in your person. And do you believe that soulmates? Do you believe in soulmates as a couple?
I never really thought about the word soulmates. I just thought it was like a girly thing and whatnot
Right.
until I met this woman, honestly.
Right.
And I truly felt like our souls collided so hard that that's what scared me so much in the beginning. I think that was definitely a big part of my sabotage. I had never felt anything like that before. And actually, the only time I had felt something like that before was the love between me and my grandfather. Well, my daddy, Bobby Kim. So,
Yeah.
and I mean, when I say like the bond there is like, I don't really know how to put it into words. So to feel something even similar or a hint of that when he's been gone for 8 years, kind of was like, oh no, get this away from me. I don't know her. How could you make me feel anything close to what this man who has been everything to me made me feel?
Right.
So I absolutely feel that. Nefertiti can speak more to it, but I also believe that you can have soulmates that are familial, right? You can have a certain closeness with one of your family members that you guys just click and you just bond in a different way and you connect on things and they understand you and you understand them. So I don't think it's limited to a husband and wife. You know, I think it's just a spiritual connection that you're able to make with someone to where God aligns you to connect at a higher level than just a surface level.
Yeah. Right on. Wow.
No, I think you answered it. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I want to ask you while you're on, Fair Sykes 007 says compatibility versus chemistry. Oh, this is a good one. Which is the most important during the first year of dating?
That's good.
I think both. I don't think that a relationship, and this is just me personally, I don't think that a relationship can do well with just one. I think that compatibility is based on just a number of different things. I mean, with Jadrien, it's like we knew that we were friends off the gate, right? So that was a compatibility. But if we didn't have that, would I have fallen in love with him the way that I did based on chemistry? You know, I think women were just naturally more emotional creatures. And so for us, it's very important not only to be loved, but to be seen and understood. So I would say for myself that I can't see a relationship really working without both. I think it's important to have both.
I think they're both important, but what I would say is I feel like God breaks all laws. I don't feel like there's any boundaries for him. Because on paper, had you placed me and Nefertiti side by side, I don't really think many people would have said we were compatible. Right? Country boy to where I ride horses. Kim seen me on a horse, ride horses. Nefertiti is super city girl. Very much a city girl. I had been in a space as to where I was living very freely and very surface level. Nefertiti has never experienced anything like that. So honestly, if you looked at us at that stage in our lives and you took both of our profiles, you would have never said we were compatible. But what God has for you, he has for you.
Yes,
that's it. Y'all doing the Bible study. I'll get y'all a date. Y'all doing the Bible study.
Yes. That's awesome.
No, first of all, thank you, Kim, for coming on. You can press that X. I'm going to take
Okay.
one more.
Love you.
Love y'all. This was awesome.
Yes, ma'am.
Keep it up.
Robert, I don't know if y'all know Robert personally, but I mean, he's been singing y'all praises. He said, awesome insight from a very wise young couple. And then one guy, last name Carrington, he said he want to be married, but he can't get out the streets. Any help?
Oh, Robert is saying he wants to be married
No.
and connect.
This is something
No.
else.
Okay.
Robert says, awesome insights from a very wise couple. Carrington says, marriage sounds nice, but I can't get out the streets. Any help? That's a lot of guys.
Wait, is this, I'm sorry, because of the handle, is this a gentleman that can't get out of the streets?
Yes.
Or a woman? Okay, this is a gentleman. I ask because, I don't pass judgment, so it's not, it doesn't really matter to me. This is what I would say. There's already doubt there. So, I think it's beautiful that you can be completely honest and feel safe enough to say that, because I just want to give a shout out to you. But if you're in the streets and you want to get out, but it's hard, I think you're already having an emotional tug of war, right? Like there's already a part of you that feels that being in the streets is not completely fulfilling and that there's more to it. And so to me, it sounds like this person is battling the, what is right for them versus the right now. There's already some emotional doubt there about is what I'm doing fulfilling, but something keeps pulling me back. I think one of the things that's important to remember is, what are you being pulled back to? When you're being pulled back to the streets and you're dating these women, what is it about them that is pulling you to them? Because at the end of the day, and I'm not a guy and you can speak more to that, I don't know a person who doesn't want to be happy. And not to say that the streets can't make you happy. I think personally they can temporarily. But what is it exactly that you're looking for? And how can we shape that to become a conversation of not necessarily versus, I don't even know if it's the streets versus a relationship. I almost think it's the streets versus yourself. And do you know yourself enough to know what you do want? And if so, would you be ready at this moment? If I were to bring you the perfect girl, would you be ready to start dating her tomorrow? And would you have the intentionality of wanting to be in a relationship and potentially marry her?
There's this thing called delayed gratification. And I am in this season right now in my life. It's not a new terminology for me, but it's something that I'm practicing very intentionally right now. And what it means is, am I willing to bypass the temporary satisfaction for where I truly need to be or where I want to get to in the end? And so it sounds like you definitely have to I would recommend, or I would suggest, spending time learning you, spending time learning who you are, and learn who you were before the world told you who you were.
That's a good one.
Just learning who you are in this moment, because the battle, the conflict is you battling what you need to be from an expectation standpoint or an acceptance standpoint versus what you're feeling called to. I don't think you would feel called to marriage, which requires hard work and effort to have a successful one, if it wasn't something that if there wasn't a pull inside of you.
Right. That's right.
And so honestly, I just take everything back to focusing on God, because for us, that's when things shifted and changed in our relationship. Shortly after we got engaged, we had some discord and some arguments. Honestly, it was just the enemy. And we decided to be celibate for a year and a half.
Yeah, almost 2 years.
Yeah. So almost 2 years. We decided to be celibate before we got married. Year and a half, almost 2 years. So the dedication required us to really put in work, right? Because there's no easy gratification. You can't, slip something under the rug that you argued about with pleasure, right? So we delayed that gratification in order to focus on the hard work. It was a commitment to God as well. And the gratification for that, the thing he blessed us with was a marriage, right? And that meant more than something surface level that's going to please me just in this moment. I can wait, because what I want is so much more important than this thing right here in front of me.
All right. So y'all want me to tell y'all the day that y'all going to do the Bible study?
Yeah. Are there any other single questions? I kind of like answering the singles questions, because I think that singlehood is actually very good. And I try to remind my family and my friends of that all of the time. I would rather marry late and marry right. One more time. I would rather marry late and marry right than to jump into a marriage, avoid all of these red flags, and I'm talking for men and women.
Yeah.
And then be put in a situation where it just doesn't end well, and then God forbid there are kids involved and it can get nasty. It's just, I don't know about, I mean, I know you, but I'm saying I can't deal with that kind of drama. Like, I just want to be able to have a good relationship with my husband. I want to be able to look back when we have children and grandchildren and say, you know what? We did that. Mm-hmm. We did that. It wasn't easy. It was tough, but we kept trekking, and we're here now. And you look at what we have, what we've built.
Yeah, I'm not playing. You think the next DM is, hey y'all, cough, cough. When can y'all do Bible study on this Wednesday? We know, aisle 3, we need you guys. Really. This is the last question. What is it? Fair Skies. He says, was it a big adjustment seeing your spouse 24/7 now versus courtship, like going home after dates?
I feel like I can kind of understand where that comes from, because that's kind of like an old school. Like, when I think about like our grandparents and our great grandparents, they spent every waking minute together. I will say, I always preface it with speaking for myself, because I don't like to speak for my husband. He's my best friend, so I enjoy doing things with him. We enjoy spending time. You know, if anything, a testimony, I think, to our relationship is when COVID happened, we saw the number of divorce rates skyrocket. We got engaged during COVID. So I think that speaks to our story. And at that point, we were together, as most people, every single day. So we really learned the ins and outs of how to push each other's buttons, what upset the other one, you know, how to make the other one laugh, because there was nowhere to go. We were stuck in the house. It was COVID. So for me, it wasn't that much of an adjustment, because I feel like between what we had learned and the mistakes that we made earlier on in the relationship, then all of a sudden the entire world shuts down. We get engaged in the middle of that. We had a lot of friends and family that we lost due to COVID, and to other illnesses. I mean, combined, we had like 13 people die between us. And so we've gone through some really, really tough times. And so I couldn't imagine not spending a day without my husband. But I will add, and it has nothing to do with him or with us, I do believe, though, and we talk about this all the time, that within a marriage and a relationship, you should have your own individuality. So I'm also very big on making sure, like, I'm the kind of woman who's very supportive. So if he wants to go out, and whether it's golfing or play basketball with his guy friends, I'm like, do you? Because when I married you, you had a set of things that made you happy, and you can continue doing them the same way that I have things that make me happy with my girlfriends that have nothing to do with my husband. So while I love spending all of this time with him, there are times, and I call this the self-love theory, that there are times where I like to do things with my girlfriends, or things that I like to do just by myself with nobody around.
I completely agree. I mean, I think you pretty much took the cake. I think it's important to have time. I think it's important to have time to miss one another. Like, I love getting out with my fellas and my guys, man. We got together and watched the Super Bowl. It's, the cutting up, the laughter, the fun. But then at the end of the day, I'll be missing my wife. So it's good, honestly, to even spend time away so that you can miss one another. So absolutely.
Man, I'm gonna let y'all can drop, I'm talking about the audience, any emojis that you all want to in the comments.
I wish we could see that.
That's wild. Y'all can't see that?
Probably because you got this thing up.
No.
Do you have pink?
No, that's hers. I can't really.
Let me unpin it.
No, you can pin it. So one of the things that I thought we were going to be answering more like how to help singles get to this point. So I read a quote yesterday and I thought of you and I thought of this. And this is for the single people. It says, and I wrote it down, I was like, single doesn't always mean lonely in the same way that taken doesn't always mean loved.
Wait, repeat that one more time, Pastor.
Single doesn't always mean lonely in the same way that taken doesn't always mean loved. A lot of the times we will jump into relationships with the potentials, or we will jump into the relationships ignoring red flags of who these people really are, or we think we can change them, or they're a fixer-upper, and as long as, I am a people pleaser and I work to, and all of that falls into very different categories like trauma bonding and all of that other stuff. But I think it's important, and when I read this quote, I really thought about what our conversation was going to be like tonight, because I think it's important for people to really work from a place where they love each other before they're trying to jump into a relationship and show someone else love. I just don't think that it's feasible to be in a successful relationship or marriage without having done the work on yourself first. So the idea of rushing a relationship just to say you're in one, or marrying somebody because it feels right just in that moment, but of the red flags, like you're sitting there like, should I do it?
Yeah.
I would just hope that if somebody's single and they're watching, that they don't think that their time is running out, or that they're not of value, or that they're never going to find their person. I do not believe that God will put you in a place of pain. I think that instead of looking at this as a waiting period, folks should look at it as a preparation period.
Yeah.
How is he preparing you to be ready to be in that relationship with your person?
And know that the closer you get to where you're supposed to be, God is preparing that other person the same way. They use I forget the terminology they use, but a lot of pastors will use like the triangle, right? You're on this end, he's on that end. If you try and come together, right, you're keeping your distance separated from God. But if you both go towards God, then he is bringing you both where you need to be at the right time. You need to be there for you guys to make the connection that you need.
Because once you're in a relationship, it's a concept of like, we're two, but we're one.
I will say this, because originally when I came on, I have a list of questions. But then sometimes when I get on live, I'm like, wait a minute. This is my first time, my audience and your audience, they haven't seen you on live in a while. They need to know, because I know you've gained probably a lot of followers within the last year, right? So being introduced to now you as a married woman. And I said, okay, well, let me first ask the questions, just get some type of back history. And then we went into, well, now this is how you get some therapy, and this is how you now talk about preparing for that person. So I definitely think there's a part 2 in there. I definitely think that, no joke, y'all need to do a Bible study. Whether y'all come on here and do it and ask questions, or go on Zoom, but a lot of people will be helped. Let me see. Deborah says, well said. I think she's been married for 30 years and she stayed on this entire time. See, y'all helping everybody, okay? But I want to ask you, if you get out of here, what are some future projects that you guys are working on? What can we see from both of you guys? Because you have an Instagram page called Dope Soul Talk.
Dope Soul Talk. Yeah, so we actually started the Instagram page during COVID. We were like, look, there is this, we believed there was this need to showcase positivity and contribute. And originally, if you go back to the start of the page, you can see that we were very active, post all of the unarmed shootings of Black men and women, you know, in America. It was something that we really felt that we could not talk about. So that was really important to us. So when we started it, we were like, oh, we want to, you know, unapologetically talk about our relationship, which comes with mistakes and love and all of that other stuff, highlight other people. And then we kind of paused from that because of what was happening, you know, what was unfolding with George Floyd and Ahmaud and Breonna. And then now we've kind of come back post-marriage to kind of show like, hey, this is who we are. We're very unapologetic for who we are. We come with our mistakes and our flaws and, you know, but it is what it is. And so there was a pause there and a lack because, like, as we shared, there were a lot of deaths within the family. We were planning the wedding, so there was a lot going on. But we are kind of coming back. And our goal, like tonight, is to kind of have these conversations, be very open and transparent about our story. One of the things we've learned is, you know, sharing is learning, right? And so we believe that we can also learn from other people just by answering questions or starting a dialogue. So our goal with our page is really to just be an example, but also learn from the same community that we're trying to serve.
Yeah, I think overall, like what I would like for us to do is to love and be a light for love, for God's love. Because I feel like there's a lot of opportunity, there's a lot of healing, things that we're working through ourselves. But we have so much testimony for what he's done and how he's healed us thus far and how he created something beautiful from very damaged and hurt people.
And I'll tell you this, okay. So just looking from the outside in, right? Even when you all tell your testimony, I don't, you know, some pastors, they'll say you come out as like fresh gold. Like you don't look like even what you're talking about that you've been through. Because even when we look at you now, we're like, dang, we still want to hear more. You see how many people continue to watch? Like we want to hear more. So I think especially, you know, when you all get out there, you know, when you all just start talking about your journey, y'all going to help a lot of singles, a lot of married couples, a lot of people are going to end up getting healed and restored. And this, we just wait. We just ready for it, okay? So Nefertiti, you got to tell us when y'all going to come out with your podcast.
Okay, I mean, look, this is what I will say. We kind of are feeling like God is trying to tell us something because you're like, I don't even know.
I mean, honestly, I wouldn't say a number because it would sound like fake.
I don't even have a number.
Really?
But like most recently, a lot of people have said it, and we've kind of like talked about it. We've thrown about the idea. Originally, even when we started Dope Soul Talk in the middle of COVID, if you go back and you scroll, we actually did a couple of videos because people had a lot of questions and we did Q&As and we picked topics and we kind of discussed them. So I don't know if I would call it a podcast, but there was always that component for us that we always wanted to incorporate as a part of the Dope Soul Talk kind of community. It just, I mean, and I'm just being completely honest, it just really fell off because of everything that we were forced to go through in a very difficult time, not only for us, but for everyone in this country. Right. And so, yeah, but you know what? We receive what you're saying.
We receive it.
It will not go ignored.
And this is technically our first time having a conversation with someone about our relationship. Like this would be a first where we've got on and talked about our relationship. So you kind of took that virginity.
Okay, and I'll say this also, like, so it doesn't have to be perfect. You all know that. People are attracted and drawn to people who they know that they can get rich.
Say that first line one more time, please. Just one more time.
It's the journalism, but you know that people.
Yeah, it is the journalism.
You don't
want to put out a bad product.
It's not a Vogue site. It's not a VO. you can come in hot. You can come in. I've seen people with the most followers. Now, this ain't my thing, but what do right wrong. And I'll be like, okay, girl, but let me take notes because you're doing something that I'm not.
Right. Receive anyway. Take what you can get.
Black Love Doc, they are, I think they said they're not doing it anymore. So I'm just saying, y'all in the ATL.
Yeah, I think, well, here's the situation. I know the couple that you're talking about because they started, I think, on YouTube during COVID. And then they got picked up by the OWN series. I don't believe that they're doing anything on the OWN network anymore. And I might be talking out of line, so please don't quote me.
Mm-hmm.
But I do believe that they're still going to be doing some content. And we love their content. We actually watch their content because they also have content that's geared towards men and geared towards women. And we're perpetual students. So we're always trying to learn from other people to how to better ourselves. So big shout out to them. I think if we did do something, it would be a little bit more, I don't know, more specific to, I don't know what it looks like. I guess we'll just have to talk to you about what it looks like. I don't know what it looks like. Like I can see it and feel it, but I don't know.
Y'all could interview other couples, especially what I'm seeing now is this is one guy, his name is Latarius Whitfield.
Yeah.
He has a show, Dear Wifey.
Love the page.
He has this older couple. They have adopted him.
Love him.
Vice versa.
Oh, the Griffins? The couple that was married for like 50 years with the granddad, and she made him the chicken salad?
So he comes on there, and he already said, he was like, the Lord had already let him know, basically, I'm just paraphrasing, that his audience will be big. He's going to reach a lot of people that he met Latarius. So I'm sitting up here, I'm looking at y'all, I'm like, they could interview other couples, but they could also, you could bring people not so much into, like your personal life, not everything, but y'all could have older couples on here to bring some wisdom. So you're collaborating 2 generations.
Yeah.
So you're reaching somebody like me, but then also you're relatable to me, both of y'all. Then you're relatable to the next person. So
you better be a vessel. You better be a vessel. You better be a vessel.
And you know what I think, what I like about, and this is going off topic, what I love about his page is that, it really started with his transparency and saying like, look, I wasn't a good husband. I cheated on my first wife. The marriage ended. It didn't end well. And now he's on this quest to find his future wife. And so even his, I think, is very different than the Black Love Doc. It's very, I don't want to say niche, but it's very specific to his story. And I think that the reason we all connect to it is because this is a person who is sharing his story, which essentially is his testimony. Yeah. And even if we've never been through what he's been through, right? Like, I'm not a guy, I haven't been married before, I didn't cheat, the fact that he is willing to share that piece of him is why we all connect. Yeah.
Right.
Because there's a part of us, in all of us, that we do want to see I would hope, the downtrodden get to a point of victory.
Yes.
Like we want that. We all want love and to be loved. And so I think what he's doing is great. And, he took something that was unfortunate, that hurt a lot of people. I think he says he has a daughter. And he's making it something that's really, really beautiful that we can all learn from.
Beautiful.
And so if in any way, shape, or form we can step into that space and then we can kind of come up with an idea of what we think, how we can help.
Gotta pray about it. We gotta
we'll do it.
To it.
Yeah.
I think y'all both have already stepped into that space. This is your coming out party.
Okay, all right now. All right,
I think this is y'all coming out party because both of y'all gonna get the DMs. Okay, so when the next show?
Yeah.
I receive it. I do receive it.
All right. I want to thank both of you guys. Y'all a lovely couple.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much.
I'm serious about that.
We'll talk legit.
Okay. I want to say thank you. I honor both of you guys. You took out time out of your busy day. Both of y'all are entrepreneurs. Lovely couple. Cannot wait to speak again. And much love to you guys. I'll see you guys later.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure. You did an amazing job. Honestly, very well spoken, very well carried, professional. It was beautiful speaking with you. So we look forward to doing it again. Yeah. You have a blessed evening.
Thank you, pastor and pastor's wife. That's it. Let me go ahead and mark that down. That's what a pastor would say.
I don't know. That's a lot of pressure.
That's a lot of pressure.
I don't know if I can be a leading lady.
Y'all better get on before I keep speaking. speaking. The next thing you know, I got y'all evangelizing. So don't. I'll see y'all later.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, so for all of my good people, I'm so glad that you all were able to join. That was Nefertiti and her husband. And when I tell you, they are phenomenal. If you want more of conversations just like that, I want you to DM them and say, hey, when are y'all going to be back on live? And I will see you guys soon. Again, I'm Kamar, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.